going on, everybody? Welcome back to Going the Distance MMA. Today we've got betting and predictions for UFC Fight Night Strickland versus Hernandez. This is a pretty good card, actually. A couple banger matchups here. A couple of them, a couple I am particularly excited for. CJ, any that stand out to you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. A bunch of fights that I'm looking forward to, some fun matchups. And I think it's going to be a good time come Saturday.
Yeah, there's one or two that stand out that I am excited to get to as well. Starting off, we have actually not a bad flyweight fight for women. We have Carly Judice, who is a massive favorite against Juliana Miller. Judice is a favorite because all of her wins are by knockout. She has also never been finished. Her two losses are by decision. 2-1 in the UFC thus far. She's on a two-fight knockout streak. She is tall and long for for this division, and she does use her range pretty well. Really good straight shots, great knees up the middle. She knocked out Nicole Cagliari, who's not horrible, with a knee that was disgusting. Great striker, head kick KO against Yunesi Dubin, who I don't really think should have been in the UFC, just kind of a fluke, shot that got her there, but head kick KO nonetheless. She strikes with the intent to do damage, and you can't say that about every fighter in women's MMA, surprisingly. Solid cardio. She's shown that she can maintain that power over 3 rounds. She defended all of Cagliari's takedowns except for one, which is, a pretty good stat for a fighter with her kind of style. Her two losses are by split decision. That's something else I like, so both very close. She showed against Gabriela Fernandez, who's also a pretty good in-your-face striker, that she's not as fluent on the back foot as she is when she can move forward, which is something that I did note. She got hit a lot against Fernandez in that fight. In that fight, she showed heart, even though she did lose. She showed the ability to deal with adversity and pressure well, which I like. She did slow down at the end a little bit of that fight, but that was a crazy pace. That's a great fight. Fernandez versus Judice, if anyone watching has not seen it. Juliana Miller on the other side. To be honest with you, I just don't like how she looks in the cage that much. She's 4-3, 2-2 in the UFC, lost 2 of her last 3. She has won all 3 ways, lost by decision and knockout. She's tall and long as well, which is good. But sloppy, like I said, on the feet. Like, she is willing to brawl, but I just don't like how she looks on the feet when she gets in those brawls. She looks like she hates getting hit. She does also allow herself to get backed up against the cage. I saw that in the Ivana Petrovic fight, and against Carly Judice. That is just not what you want to do. She does have some takedowns and some grappling control. She showed that against Ivana Petrovic in round 2, but nothing that I would deem to be enough to get to Carly Judice here. Which I think is why you're seeing Carly as such a big favorite. It makes sense for me. I guess you could say the line is a little wide, but it makes sense. Carly much more dangerous. This will stay where she wants it to be, and at some point she's probably gonna get the knockout. I'm predicting round 2. I'd be interested to see the odds on Carly Judice by knockout and the under 2.5, but you'd expect them to not be great here, so likely a pass. But Carly Judice, what do you think?
Yeah, so to answer your question, fight doesn't go as minus 200 and Carly by knockouts minus 130. Not really in the business of not horrible. I mean, all of her wins are by knockout, but women's MMA, you're just
You want
taxed to get,
plus?
you know what I mean? But like that would be, I mean, it's better than minus 900. But yeah, I think Judice is fine here, more than fine here. Like you said, she was only taken down one time by Cagliari, showed really good takedown defense. There's no reason for me to believe that like Juliana Miller will get takedowns, nor will she wrestle hard for 15 minutes. And like on the feet, like you said, she's too late to get backed up. I think she's gonna get teed off on. Judice has nasty head kick, very solid power, like you brought up. And the Gabriela Fernandez, which she lost a split back in 2024, was like extremely close. Like both the fights she lost could have gone either way, so you don't really hold that against her. And she's a lot better than her record. Like I think she's gonna go on and beat a ton of girls here, but again, just like don't want to play her minus 900. So yeah, obviously the pick is Judice, but I think you broke it down perfectly.
Agree. The next fight here, we've got Yadier Delvai minus 380, Jordan Levitt plus 315. This is at featherweight 145. What do you think here?
Yeah, so I mean, this is another one where I think Diwali's more than fine. I think it's a good matchup for him. I've never been a huge Levitt guy. Like Levitt can grapple, but anytime he fights people that are decent grapplers towards the elite grapplers like Chase Hooper, he really struggled. Got finished in that, got submitted by Patty Pimblett, which no shame in that. Like Pimblett's solid, especially on the mat. But Diwali is huge. I know people, it's hard to kind of get a read on him because of that Isaac Dolgarian fight last time out. Um, where he got the rear naked choke, like his grappling looked good, but it's just so much weird circumstances with that fight. So it's like, where do you like that? A win over Isaac Dolgarian by finish is tremendous for your resume, but we all learned like the weird line movement, just a weird situation. But yeah, he's really good grappler. Will hunt the back, good submissions. Seems to have solid enough striking and power. Like I said, pretty big for the division. I like his offensive wrestling. I don't really know where Levitt beats him. Like I think if Levitt's able to stuff takedowns, which he hasn't really been able to do against everybody, does he just like out kickbox him? Does he take Diwali down? Like I just don't see it. He has that Levitt has that quick submission win over Holloway, which I guess is solid, but Holloway seems pretty shot. He's like almost 40. And then the other fight, he KO'd Victor Martinez with like a knee, which was really weird and random, but Martinez isn't great. So yeah, I think Diwali's the goods. Like honestly, I think he's a solid enough prospect, and I think he rolls here. When like you don't love minus 300, but what is he ITD or inside the distance? The under is minus 190. On yeah, the minus 190 is the average for the under. I don't hate that. I think he gets the finish at some point, but like that's pretty steep because I don't love Levitt's finishing upsides. But Diwali's the pick. What about you?
I definitely agree here. Devay, 10-0, 2-0 in the UFC, two fight sub streak. Really good. I did overlook the last fight in my, betting just because of the circumstances, as you mentioned. You can't be too into that. Great power on the feet. Punches and kicks both hold. A solid amount of power. As you mentioned, does a really good job of finding the back. Really comfortable sinking rear naked chokes. He did have a fight that caught my eye in Fury, where he beat Michael Aswell by decision. That's a good win. He went three fast-paced rounds in that fight. Sure, he slowed down a little bit, but he's had 3 years to train since then. I'm sure he's only getting more serious about the game, and he held his own. He did well on the feet against Aswell. Probably less volume, more power, which is kind of what you'd expect. But did well, and then certainly has those grappling credentials as well. Jordan Levitt 12-3, 5-3 in the UFC. Most recent losses to Chase Hooper and Paddy Pimblett, so not anything to scoff at. But he's a win one, lose one kind of guy since joining the UFC. Wins mostly by sub. He is a sneaky, crafty grappler, and if he is going to win in any fight against anyone good, which I would say Yadier is, I think it would be against submission, or by submission rather, just like some crazy sub he catches randomly. But I don't think that happens here. He has a solid push kick, and he can be dangerous on the feet, sort of, if he can get you against the cage the wrong way, kind of like in that Victor Martinez fight, like you were mentioning. But doesn't present that much danger on the feet, and like I said, I don't think he finds a submission here in any way. Yeah, I think Yadier's grappling certainly holds up here. I think if it stays on the feet, he rocks Levitt at some point. Inside the distance, definitely has my interest. Yadier Delvi by submission is plus 215. That's not a horrible call either. I would take the inside the distance because I think he could certainly spark Jordan Levitt on the feet here. But my prediction would be a round 2 submission. But Yadier Delvi inside the distance, likely to play for this one. Up next at middleweight, we've got JPL, John Paul Lebos Mayani. We'll just call him JPL from this point on because that's a whole lot easier. Against Phil Rowe, JPL minus 205, Phil Rowe plus 175. And again, this is at middleweight. JPL, he is 9-2. He went 7-1 on LFA, so lots of experience on LFA, which is a pretty high level promotion given its geographic status of being like regional. It's pretty high level, and one of the better paths to the UFC as we've seen in recent years. 8 fights there is wild. He's a finisher. Both of his losses, he has been knocked out. He is on a 4-fight win streak currently. I think JPL is dangerous on the feet at every range of engagement. At range on the feet, he's dangerous. If he gets in the pocket, he's dangerous. If he's in the clinch, he's dangerous. Also, some really impressive submission skills. I don't think we've ever seen him under the lights against a puzzle like Phil Rowe. Phil Rowe's no easy debut by any stretch of the imagination. He did look great against Keegan Genrich in his last fight, but I think Philip Rowe would murder Keegan Genrich, to be honest with you. JPL is 8 years younger, which in this game is always good. Phil Rowe, 11-6, 4-4 in the UFC. He also has a win one, lose one sort of record. He is a finisher himself as well. He loses by decision. He was KO'd once, so mostly by decision. Certainly has the experience edge here. 4 inches of height. He has 8 inches of reach here, which is a lot. Really sharp on the feet. Uses his length well. Good power. Pretty good striking defense as well. Has good scrambling ability. He's got that gangly grappling build. Not overly impressed with his takedowns or grappling, but certainly a good scrambler and very fast too. As mentioned, Phil Rowe, not an easy UFC debut. But I think you got to go with JPL here. Almost 10 years younger. One of the more exciting prospects off of this season of DWCS, I'm sure anybody would say. Years of LFA experience. I think he's going to have a certain edge on the ground here. On the feet, this should be a lot closer. Big reach disadvantage for JPL, which you can't love. But I think JPL presents a lot more danger in the pocket. And I think he'll do some work on the inside here. I like JPL. I think these odds are not bad. And I think he'll be a much bigger favorite in the future, and the secret's out a little more. My prediction: JPL round two sub. JPL's money line, I don't hate. The under 2.5, the ITD and the submission. I see JPL's submission here is at plus 200, which, like I said, I don't hate. The under 2.5 is also minus 150, not bad either. But JPL's the side here. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm like when I first started, I was like, oh, maybe I'll like Phil Rowe a little bit more. Like you said, definitely not an easy debut just because of his intangibles and his finishing ability. But I'm pretty high on JPL. Like he was a big favorite in his Contender Series fight where I loaded up on him and Cesare Olajaychuk parlay, and they both hit for fun. And JPL did what he had to do. But Jack Ogden's not great, but nasty head kick. Like guy's a good striker. I definitely think he's better off in this matchup probably grappling or at least striking into grappling because you're right about Rowe having submissions, but like I think he's pretty dangerous on the feet just because of his size. And also JPL has been KO'd twice, even though it was years ago. That's just something that is always kind of in the back of my mind. But I think he should be fine here. I think he gets on top. Um, like Rowe got taken down. I think Ko is really good, so it's not a knock on Phil Rowe. But like a similar style where he really struggled. Like once he was flat on his back, he really struggled to get up. And I don't think he subs what's his name off his back. Like I don't think he subs JPL off his back. Maybe like a club and sub situation, he hurts him and he shoots into it. But I don't know. JPL is a good grappler. But another fight I wanted to look at the for Phil Rowe was the Jake Matthews fight. Again, like grappling, like he just really struggled to get up, to get things going, and I just think JPL is a lot more dangerous than Jake Matthews, and I do think he finds the sub at some point. So I agree with you, and not a horrible line. Maybe early, I guess, is a little dicey, but we'll see, man. I think JPL will fight the right game plan.
Up next, we have at welterweight Ramiz Brahimaj versus Punahele Soriano. Brahimaj minus 130, Soriano plus 110. What do you think here?
Yeah, so I mean, this is another I feel like super binary fight. Like Brahma is always live to grab a submission, like he's shown time and time again. He's coming off of that submission win by against Austin Vanderford, who I think's a bomb. Like I've never been high on Vanderford. I don't think he's great, but he can grapple, he can wrestle. But a good guillotine choke setup. He also subbed Billy Ray Goff. It kind of seemed like he was in the process of getting cooked though in that fight. Like Goff was landing a ton, was throwing a ton of output. Was going to try to pace him, but again, he grabbed the neck. Like really good grappler. I feel like he's got decent enough power. Like he's knocked out Mickey Gall, who's not great but pretty durable. Um, and he's durable himself. The only time he's ever been stopped was when his ear was literally hanging off. I believe against Max Griffin from an elbow. But I don't know. I think Puna. I think this is actually not a horrendous matchup for Puna because Brahma is not one to shoot like a ton of takedowns. And I think Puna is strong and physical. He has like a Hawaiian high school wrestling base. Obviously has solid KO power. Actually went to grappling himself against Veletnikov, which I wouldn't do here because Brahima is super active guard, active front chokes, all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Puna could 100% like hurt him or at least win moments in rounds 1 and 2. It's not like Brahima is a cardio machine. And I think to beat Puna at like a high clip, you really need to kind of pace him. And I just don't see that from Ramiz. So I'd probably take the dog shot on Puna here. What about you?
Actually, as you were speaking, I actually hit the execution button on our slide guy, so he's gonna get decapitated
Oh yeah,
momentarily.
5'3".
His
Yeah,
for his crazy stats here.
I'm missing like a foot of height here. My bad.
Soriano is not 5'3", Brian is 5'1".
Hopefully the rest of the slides aren't like this. That'd be a little embarrassing. Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out.
Let me lock all this down for you. So Brahimaj 13-5, 5-3 in the UFC, riding a 3-fight finish streak. So he has had some really good recent success. Wins mostly by submission, loses mostly by decision. He was KO'd once, but that was due to that injury, as mentioned. Very difficult to finish. He does have some disgusting chokes, guillotine, rear naked choke. Dangerous off the blitz. He's proving more and more he's dangerous on the feet. He had a nasty head kick blitz against Vanderford, as you mentioned. Powerful strikes, fairly dangerous when he crashes into the pocket. Definitely not a technician on the outside by any stretch of the imagination, but durable. He can take shots well. but as mentioned, could certainly get outpointed on the outside. Soriano here, 12-4, 6-4 in the UFC, riding a three-fight win streak as well, so some recent success for him too. Wins all three ways, mostly by knockout, loses all three ways. Impressive power takedowns here, so like really strong, like slam takedowns. Good control too once he gets him down. Showed that against Vertenikov to avoid that power that you saw in Vertenikov's last fight. Soriano is a powerful southpaw on the feet. He had a solid 30-second KO against a Uros Medic who was fighting in the co-main tonight. Solid win there. I think he can get a little predictable on the feet. He just kind of like throws his left hand, which for him is it's his two. He just kind of throws that over and over, either straight or hook. But he's got power there. He did show weakness at takedowns and grappling in the Stoltzfus fight. And against Brahimaj, that's something that I did highlight a bit here. I gotta go with Brahimaj here. We rarely disagree. I'm gonna go with Brahimaj. Not something you want to put a lot of money on here, but it's just gonna be my pick. Huge grappling advantage if it gets there, but he doesn't need to get it there because as mentioned, he can grab it off the takedown. I'm sure he can even grab a choke standing. So he doesn't have to get it there. If this stays on the feet, I think Brahimaj has to crash into the pocket. If this stays out in point fighting range, I think Soriano takes it, especially the longer this fight goes, the more I lean Soriano. But at the same time, I think if Brahimaj can download the information on the left hand of Soriano early, I think Soriano's going to be a lot less effective on the outside. So Soriano is liable to get a knockout at some point, could outpoint to a decision, but I think Brahimaj might continue that sub streak and snatch up another one here. I think it could be early as well. In terms of bets, the under 2.5, I believe, is like minus 180 range, if my memory is correct, so that's not bad here. Brahimaj slight underdog, and Brahimaj sub is plus 150, if my memory serves me correct. So not great value. If you're going to do something, probably Brahimaj or the under, just because the sub is so juiced because of how many subs he's been pulling. But good fight here. Excited to watch it for sure.
Yeah, I would probably like speaking of not to cut you off or anything, like probably whatever side you take, like sprinkle the under also, I think, to cover yourself because I think it's both win condition. Probably Puna a little bit later into the under. But I mean Brahimaj has like a billion round one submissions, so I would not be shocked if he snatches something like you said.
Certainly, I would definitely agree with that statement. Definitely load the under as a cover, no matter which way you go. Next fight here, we have women's bantamweight. Nora Cornell, one of my favorite bantamweight fighters. Gotta say, the GOAT. Jocelyn Edwards, minus 300 for Edwards, plus 255 for Cornell. Cornell 9-3, 3-2 in the UFC. Lost two of her last three, and an 8-fight win streak prior, with two of those wins being in the UFC. She has losses to Jacqueline Cavalcanti twice, one of them being a split, and a loss to Carol Rosa in her most recent fight. Won all three ways, mostly by knockout, which you gotta love in women's MMA. Never been finished, which you also gotta love. She has fought Edwards previously. She did win a decision against Jocelyn Edwards in 2023. I will say Cornell, vulnerable on the ground. She can be taken down. She's proved that again and again. And when she's down, she can get controlled. She will go for some subs of her own. You'll see some armbar attempts. She had a recent rear naked choke against Haley Cohen. She has some trips of her own, some takedowns. She tripped and took down Cavalcanti in round one of her recent fight with Cavalcanti. It did get reversed right after. Like I said, kind of horrible on the ground, but she'll throw something or two. I will say Cavalcanti in both of them kind of outclassed by that taller and longer striker, and Jocelyn Edwards certainly is a little bit larger here. Edwards 16-6, 7-4 in the UFC, riding a 3-fight finish streak. I will say 3-fight finish streak, women's MMA pretty good, but not against very impressive names. Chelsea Chandler, Tamaris Vidal, and one other, like just no one that you're like, wow, look at that.
Disgusting.
Not a Jacqueline Cavalcanti, we'll say that. Won all three ways, but mostly by knockout, and loses mostly by decision. She has been submitted once. Like I said, the UFC win quality for Jocelyn doesn't impress me as much as it does for Cornell. For Cornell, she's beaten, as mentioned, Cavalcanti. She fought, but she beat Jocelyn Edwards. That's a better name than Jocelyn Edwards has beat herself. So impressive there. I will say that Edwards is solid all around. She can strike, she can wrestle, she can grapple. Probably best in the striking, I would say. She has good combo of distance management and pressure, so like she knows like it's a great balance between like brawling and point fighting. She just knows how to toe the line properly. In the last fight with Nora Cornell, she took down Nora Cornell constantly. Good control in that fight too. I think she probably wins that anywhere besides Paris. That did end up going to Nora Cornell by unanimous decision. But like I said, I think anywhere other than Paris, that probably goes to Edwards. Cornell did get slightly better work on the feet, but just so much time spent on top for Edwards. So kind of a crazy decision there. Um, when I looked at this fight at first, I loved Nora Cornell. I was looking like plus 280 or plus 260 at one point on someone who won the last fight, which I loved. More finishing, maybe not more, but lots of finishing potential. Great on the feet. Close fights with Cavalcanti. And I've always been a cornhole guy. It's just hard not to be a cornhole guy. Um, and then I watched the first fight with Edwards, and I was like, wow, she should have lost that. So for this fight, I really want to bet Cornell, and I want Cornell to win, but I just can't get there. I'm gonna have to go with CJ's wife, Jocelyn Edwards. This is not the kind of fight that I'm putting money on at all. In fact, if you're gonna take a side, I'd say take Cornell just because of the value here. I do think this hits overs here, despite both these ladies having finishing potential. They're just both good, both defensively sound. So I do think this goes late, but Jocelyn Edwards, unfortunately, the side though. Good value on Cornell. What do you think?
Yeah, so you said it perfectly. I know Cornell's your girl. Like you said, she just lost to Carl Rosa, who's not hard, like is a good fighter. Like I think Carl Rosa is really good, really solid. She would give Jocelyn Edwards some trouble, 100%, at least on the feet. Striking with Rosa is not easy, but again, yeah, like I look back at the Jocelyn Edwards, the original fight that happened in Paris, like just gave up way too many takedowns, man. I just think that that's going to be the same game plan for Jocelyn Edwards. I guess my wife apparently, even though she kind of looks like a boogie with the hoodie. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just think Cornell has to keep it standing, which she hasn't shown in the past she's been able to do. You know what I mean? And also what I will say is Jocelyn Edwards does have the legs to cage push here. Like I think a cage push, like get a cage push for 3 minutes, get a takedown, and just ride out the rest of the round is super live. And like you said, she's definitely a generalist, like pretty solid everywhere. Her striking isn't horrible, where I think she gets chewed up at range, but like Nora is dangerous, like good Muay Thai, good kick. So that probably wouldn't be happy with the Jocelyn Edwards minus 300 ticket and have her like kickbox for 15 minutes, you know. But yeah, I just think she's can mix the martial arts a little bit better. And until Nora shows any ability to get up, I just can't pick her against any grapplers. So Jocelyn Edwards for me, I guess. Bad line though. I don't love the line.
Me neither. Horrible line. That's why I initially had so much interest in Cornhole. Horrible line.
I'm shocked you're not taking it. I'm shocked. That's your girl.
I was gonna take it until I watched that fight, and I was like, I'm not taking this anywhere besides Paris. She's losing the last one.
What about like well no, I'd have to do 3-1. I don't think I like that too much with Jocelyn Edwards 3-1. Be your
3 to 1.
choice.
I'm on Cornhole for 3 to 1 for sure.
So all right, you no, I maybe maybe down the card we'll have something else. I can't do that. That's just asking for trouble.
It is. It is. Up next, we have flyweight 125. We have Alden Correa minus 270, Luis Garul plus 235. This should be a good one. Correa minus 270. I think it is a fair price. What do you think here?
Yeah, so Correa is solid, man. Like he beat Alessandro Costa, beat him up too, as a
Yeah.
pretty decent sized underdog, and was that short notice, I believe.
Yep.
Beat up Alessandro Costa, who I'm really high on. Like that dude's solid, like really durable, doesn't get finished. And man, he just looked really good. His grappling's good. He's got good offensive wrestling. His striking's good. Will throw in combination. Really good pace. Really good pressure. And yeah, I was shocked, honestly. I like loaded up on Costa. It wasn't even a fade of Correa. I just thought Costa was really good. And it's tough to fight a guy like that on short notice, but man, did he prove me long. He landed some really good leg kicks too, which Costa is known for. So yeah, super impressed. But Garul, on the other hand, like when he was on Contender Series, I thought this guy was going to be pretty solid. Fighting Nick Piccini, I think, the wrestler. He looked good. Like he showed really good takedown defense. He won a split. Did just a lot more on the feet. Was very tough to hold down. But I don't know. It seems like his durability is not great. Like Ode Osborne knocked him out. In a fight where he looked pretty good up until getting stopped. I don't know. He just leaves something to be desired. And then the follow up Jesus Aguilar fight, he just like, in my opinion, he kind of lost that fight for himself because Jesus Aguilar's striking's not great. It's very one and done and like lunging in with an overhand right. And the dude's got like the shortest reach ever, Jesus Aguilar, and it kept landing. And I was like cringing at the TV screen. And yeah, Garul didn't really start doing anything until like past 7.5 minutes. So I think with the right game plan, he wins that here. But I don't know. Like flyweight underdogs, like when it's a line like this, usually aren't horrible. But I don't really see where he beats Correa. So I'll take Coria, sorry. So I'll take Coria. I don't know if I would love parlaying him. I know it looks bad for Garul because he's like 0-2 in the UFC, but flyweight fights just tend to be close, you know? But yeah, what do you think? You probably have a better read.
Korea for sure.
Coria?
He's 11-3, as you can see here. Slide guy did pull through for this one. He is 1-0 in the UFC, 5-2 in LFA, riding a four-fight finishing streak if you exclude a no contest where he had an accidental low blow before a finishing blitz, so they just called that a no contest. Fair. He is a finisher. Um, he loses by decision and submission. Never been knocked out. He did get rocked in the Chris Ocon fight in round one. Was kind of saved by the bell in that fight a bit. He does look sharp on the feet though. Good power in his hands for flyweight. Powerful ground and pound. For the Ocon and Costa fight, the UFC Costa, Alessandro Costa, both fights ended with an uppercut and follow punches. So like really carries great power. Good combos. I was really impressed with his boxing. Gurule on the other side, as you mentioned, looked like he could be something on Contender Series. Nick Piccinini, he had a split decision where I wasn't overly impressed, but certainly showed he could grind for 15 minutes. 10-2, as you mentioned, 0-2 in the UFC, two-fight loss streak there. KO by Ode Osborne, not great look, but it happens to many. Lost to Jesus Aguilar by decision. Wins by KO and decision, loses by KO and decision. He had a couple takedowns in the Osborne fight, which it's not a bad look here. I would say he is better off there for sure. If he does that in this fight, does look hittable, and I will say he looks like he responds poorly to big shots. And if you're gonna get big shots, like pause, fighting Korea, like you're gonna be getting hit hard. I'm afraid I caught myself about to say something weird. So he shows some okay striking in that Nick Piccinini fight, but he's caught in bad spots against Nick on the feet, and if you're getting caught against Nick on the feet in bad spots, what happens against Alden Coria? You're gonna get dropped. So I think Coria's a solid pick here. The money line's probably a little wide, I agree, but I think he's so much sharper on the feet, and if it stays standing, it's wraps. I think Coria probably gets the KO. Coria is definitely the side. Interest in the inside the distance and the KO play. Inside the distance around plus 180, KO around plus 225. So those would be the moves here if you're going to take it, but I'm definitely on Coria as well. Up next, we just had one of the guys you mentioned, Ode Osborne versus Alibi Idiris at minus 130 for Alibi, plus 110 for Ode. What do you think here?
Yeah, so this is tough. Obviously, Osborne backed down at 125, which I think he fought back in the day. He had some fights at bantamweight. I mean, he's huge at 125. And I think he looked pretty good against I don't know if Usyk just like lost his step because Usyk himself has been struggling. But man, he looked pretty good. He landed some good shots, like rocked him at some point. His cardio didn't look horrible, even though Usyk kind of took over as the fight went later. And really close fight. And he was I'm pretty sure he was a decent sized dog. Yeah, like plus 400. He did not look plus 400. He looked like plus 200 max. Had a ton of moments. Like you said, he KO'd Garul with like a nasty left hook. Like Ode always has had power, really long reach, good kicks, like good body kicks. The Ronaldo Rodriguez fight, I have no idea how he didn't. I thought he won, and also I had Ode sub at like 27-1, which was a very character building experience because Rodriguez was in the triangle for like 25 for an hour. So yeah, I love that. That still doesn't bother me to this day. But yeah, Jafel Filio, really good grappler, so like no shame in that. Amzu Amabayev is on a good run, right? He submitted Perez, also beat Jose Ochoa, who I'm really high on. So yeah, he's just fought the way better level of competition, and I don't really see how he's a dog here. On the other side, Adrius looked horrible against Joseph Morales, who I think is really solid. And that's really the fight I'm focusing on. He just like allowed Morales to do whatever he wanted, especially in the grappling. Like Morales dominated pretty much at all times, threw up really good submissions. And yeah, he finished him with a triangle choke. And again, Morales is a good grappler. This is a different matchup from that. But I don't know. I'm not overly impressed with his game. But again, this is tough to kind of get a read on. But I think like dog shot on Ode is not horrible. And another fight I will bring up is for Adrius is the fight against Santos Jr. where he like got nasty ground and pound like 3 minutes into the first round. Like not a horrible win. He's not horrible on top, but I feel like he might be susceptible to getting grappled. And maybe that doesn't run its ugly head on against Ode, but down the road it's like something to definitely think about. I think Ode just does a little bit more on the feet, and just I don't know if he wins a decision necessarily because he isn't the biggest cardio guy, but I think Ode has a ton of moments. So if I'm just picking, I would pick Ode, but no bet for me on this fight. What about you?
Definitely no bet for me. Ode, 13-9, 5-7 in the UFC, lost four of last five, wins and loses all three ways. Uh, Known to be a bit of a round one finish guy in a lot of his wins. Tall and long for the division, powerful striker. He can catch anybody at this division. Will say fairly easy to take down himself. Not an expert on the ground, in my opinion. Like he's not bad, but I think he certainly shines more on his feet when he can let his hands go and use his frame, which is impressive at this division. For Alibi, he's 10-1, 0-1. In the UFC, as mentioned, he lost by Joseph Morales by submission in his last fight. Definitely looked vulnerable in the grappling department, I will say, as you mentioned. But like I said, I don't think that like is too much of a threat here from Ode, especially like offensively. I think
Mm-hmm.
Ode is more going to throw him up, defensively. Um, but as mentioned, betting aside here just doesn't feel like a good idea. Ode's not consistent enough for me to be trustworthy. Adiras showed huge deficiencies, and the only good look I've gotten to look at him, gun to my head, probably Adiras because I think Ode's kind of got to get the KO. But I'm much more interested in this fight to, not bet, to watch. If you tell me, oh, and you have to bet something here, probably the fight to not go the distance. But like I said, like I'm hard pressed to bet this fight. I'm really not that interested. So pass most likely is my answer here.
Minus
Agreed.
110 on fight doesn't go. Not a horrible line, just because every Ode fight, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's where I think. I mean, I could totally see a last second finish. So don't play
Mhm.
down for 2.5. Don't do it to yourself.
I'm with you, especially that cut to 125, man. He's starting to get up there. I don't know. Don't
Mm,
love that. It's
agreed.
always been difficult. Yeah.
Agreed.
Dang it,
There you have it,
Max.
folks. Fight not to go the distance. Write
Yeah.
it down now before the line changes because all of our millions of fans will bet it. Up next, we have at welterweight, Chidi and
Wrong.
Giovanni plus
Slide guy sucks.
Carlos Lau. Dude, look at that pick, bro. Look at that.
I think
Look at
only the
that
cheaty measurements are right. Oh yeah, look at that picture though. That's a
Carlos
crazy.
Lau looks like a teenage mutant ninja
That's
turtle,
one of
bro.
my favorite MMA pictures ever.
That's ridiculous, dude. He's minus 120. That's such I can't even like focus. Oh man, that's great. Chi and Jaquani, 25-11, 5-4 in the UFC, won three of his last four, so nice little streak here. Wins by KO and decision, mostly. Does get finished in his losses. Look really solid in the stand up. Steady pressure, but still fights long. Great kicks, great body kicks. When he does get taken down, which isn't unheard of for him, he has a solid ability to get up, shows good sweeps, good urgency to get up. He showed that in the Jared Gooden fight, which I love. Great clinch striking, really powerful knees. So, definitely a serviceable guy on the feet here. Who you have to like in a standing fist fight. Carlos Leal, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, he is 22-7, 1-2 in the UFC, 5-2 in the PFL, 3-0 in LFA. Lost two of his last three. KO and decision wins, loses all three ways, mostly by decision. He got slept bad in his last fight by Muslim Salikov early, bad. But I'll say Leal, he's powerful on the feet. He similar to Chidi, he's nasty in the clinch. And when his opponent's against the cage with those knees, he's willing to take one to give one. He was juiced to the gills and they were not Fakra did not fight. Look at that. Like that's not even human. He looked great in that fight. He looked, strong, fast, good cardio, but you have to discount some of that physicality, knowing that he's off the not on that level of nuclear juice. So, since being off the sauce, looked certainly less impressive. And I gotta say, I like Chitty here. I've kind of always been a Chitty and Kawani guy. I gotta say, Chitty's getting a lot of experience in the UFC. He's lost to some solid names: Jake Matthews, Mikey O, G Rod. Leal came into the UFC, it looked great off the juice. And then he pieced up Morono, which fantastic. He looked good doing it, but that's Morono. And then he got chinned horribly. I think this fight probably stays on the feet. And without, the superpowers of the nuclear juice, I think Chitty gets this one done. I like the unders. I like the fight to end in KO overall. I like Chitty. So main plays here, Chidi, fight ending KO overall as just a winning method. You could do Chidi KO, but that's getting a little bit risky. I'm trying to see here what the fight to ending KO is
Minus
overall.
250.
Yikes,
Some
yikes,
books.
yikes. Chidi money line is the way here, folks. That's my take. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, this is like one of the most violent fights on the card. Like two really good strikers. I guess it's starting the Cheaty side. The concern with him has always been like what version of him shows up because it kind of seems like he's a coin flip fighter, almost like a Michael Johnson or something like that. But I mean, dude's got all the intangibles. He's gigantic for 170. I have no idea how he makes it. Like 80-inch reach, 6'3", nasty Muay Thai. Has that Muay Thai base, like good knees, elbows. Pretty much everything you would love from a striker, from a Muay Thai striker in MMA. Like really good teeps, uses his range really well, step and elbows. The Jake Matthews fight was like he got tapped pretty much instantly, which is like alludes to what I said earlier about coin flip fighter. But yeah, like KO over Zaleski dos Santos, like good win. I know he was on a little bit older, but nasty knee in the clinch. He grabs really good like when they're in boxing range because he's so long. He grabs like the tie clinch really well and throws knees and then backs out. And slept him with that nasty. The Jared Gooden fight killed him in the clinch to the body with like 100,000 knees. The split decision went over Reese McKee. I don't really get how that was split. I think he clearly won. Mikey O finished him, no shame in that. Lost split to Duraev. Finished by Gregory Rodriguez, but he landed a ton of bombs on him. And yeah, just as someone who's a super volatile fighter, like I think he's kill or be killed. Really good on the feet. But Carlos Leal, on the other hand, like you said, I mean, look at this picture. Like he had back knee at the age of how old is he? At the age of 31, he had back knee like a high schooler. So yeah, nuclear juice, like you said, they straight up. There's a reason why they brought him in on a Dubai card. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, straight up robbed against Fakhretdinov. I think he won 30-27. They 30-27 it the other way, which whatever.
Good. He was juice.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, in the PFL, he's fought pretty solid guys. Knocked out David Zawada, knocked out Delano Taylor, which what happened to that guy? Remember, he was like in the PFL winning fights. Lost a split to Sada Busi, lost to Sada Busi twice, beat Ray Cooper back in the day. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was gonna kill Solikov. I think I'm not the only one that thought he was gonna kill old man Grandpa Solikov. But that was the counter of all counters. Like, there's not a more perfect counter. And I believe that's the first time he's been knocked out. Yeah, so that was the first time he's been knocked out, which you don't love because Cheaty's got like such a explosive style, good power. But he does really well. Liao will go for it. Does really well in boxing range, like really good hooks. Will throw it to the body. And yeah, like you said, I side with Liao. I just think he'll do more output. I think he has a better gas tank. But I mean, Cheaty's 100% alive to clip him. You know, that wouldn't be crazy by any means, especially he's coming off of one of the most brutal KO losses I've seen in some time. So yeah, violence, I think under, even like 1.5, which you don't love because they're Liao is durable. Like Cheaty, it's not like Cheaty's made of glass, but just the way Liao fights, man, I don't see a world where he like sticks the outside, you know? And it's not like Cheaty's like Sadabusi that like has that touch and go style. Like he's standing in front of you too. So I'm gonna pick Liao, but yeah, unders fight doesn't go even if it's chalky. Like seems like it's a solid enough parlay piece. But looking forward to it.
Absolutely, I agree. This is another fun one. This is at middleweight to open up
Mhm.
the main card. This is Zach Reese. He is 10-2, fighting Michel Pereira at 31-14. Zach Reese, the underdog, plus 140. Come back on Pereira, minus 160. Here, Zach Reese, he's 4-2 in the UFC, two-fight win streak currently. If you ignore the no contest to Cedric Dumas, he's a finisher, mostly by knockout. Both of his losses are by knockout as well. He was ground and pound KO'd by Bikoev, slam KO'd by Brundage. So his two KO losses, never like clean shot to the chin KO'd. Kind of just like, ground and pound destroyed. Woodley's already, down and then slammed to hell. But he is dangerous on the feet. Good power. He's athletic. He has a great body kick that he broke down Medina with. Great body kick. He has a submission game too. Takedown defense questionable. Taken down by Bikoa, which ultimately led to him getting his face pushed into the mat with Bikoa's fist, and then also with Medina. Medina got a takedown against him. Bad look, bad look,
Horrendous look.
horrendous look. But dangerous fighter. Michel Pereira, 31-14, 9-5 in the UFC. currently riding a three-fight losing streak to Alexander Hernandez, no shame. Abus Magomedov, no shame. And then also Kyle Daukaus wins all three ways, loses all three ways, mostly by decision, though. He is hard to finish. Um, he initially gained all of his, fame for his exciting and unconventional striking style that he really hasn't showed much recently. He seems to have tried to become much more composed in his last few fights. Prior to these three losses, he had an 8-fight win streak. Definitely explosive early, definitely powerful early. Like I said, trying to reel himself in the past few fights, and since reeling himself in, it just doesn't seem like he's doing enough. He presented almost no danger in the Abuz Magomedov fight, got hit frequently, got taken down and worn down by Alexander Hernandez. I'm sorry, Anthony Hernandez, wrong one. But again, not a bad look at all. That's Anthony Hernandez. I don't really love his side here, but I have to go with Reese, I believe, especially at the underdog price. I'm certainly concerned about the power and physicality that Pereira brings and the experience. But I just think Zach has more tools in the tool belt, and at this point, he's not dealing with those three straight losses that Pereira's dealing with. Pereira had all that success, 8-fight win streak and then three losses. So who knows where his head's at after that. The longer Reese makes it in this fight, the more I like it. Still, both guys are fairly untrustworthy. You can't really count on either to do enough at times. So, if you were to look at this fight quickly, first off, the side is Zach Reese, but I don't know if you had to really bet it. For this fight, if you're looking at it quickly at a surface level, you're like under, duh. But both of these guys, I've seen them in spots where you think the under is the move, and they just don't do enough. Like they make it out of the first, and they just don't do enough. So, what I think I like more is you watch this fight through the first round. You see if these guys survive, and if they do, you bet it live to go to decision. I think I like that a little more. I think if they make it out early, these guys get a little tired. I think it goes all the way. What do you think here?
Yeah, so okay, this is a weird one because if this fight was pre Fluffy Hernandez, I mean this has to be a max bet on Michelle Pereira.
Yeah.
Like this style seems like a nightmare for Reese. Historically very durable, even though he's been on that very weird run. Like getting smoked by Kyle Dawkins isn't a great look, especially as a gigantic favorite. Like Dawkins is a good fighter, but he's not a huge finisher. Like on the feet, like he's more of a submission guy. Although man, he's been showing some good power. The really concerning fight for me was the Abus fight. I'm not high on Abus. I don't think he's great, and getting out cardioed by Abus is very problematic because that dude gasses in every single fight. But other than that, like a lot to like almost finished Anthony Hernandez to the body in the first round, which was really sketchy. But of course, Hernandez just if you don't put that guy away early, will cook you so bad. Subbed Ihor Poteri is not great, but a quick submission. Quick submission over Mike Yeo, which has aged gracefully because Mike Yeo's on one hell of a run right now and seems to be like a different fighter. Quick KO over Petrosky. And then a lot of his fights were also at 170. But yeah, I don't know. I think the speed advantage is massive here. If he's not all the way shot, he's looked all the way shot in like his last two, which is really concerning. But I think you brought up really good points about Reese. He is dangerous. I mean, he's huge for the division. Good power, as he's shown a bunch of times, like opportunistic submissions. The Cody Brundage fight was just really unlucky. He had a straight up full locked in triangle and got like dumped on his own head, and he got slam KO'd, which like is very rare and will never happen again. He killed Julian Marquez in like 20 seconds. Decision win over Medina, who's like legendary durability. But again, getting taken down by him is cause for concern. And then the Bokoev fight like was another concern. I don't think Bokoev is bad by any means, but I don't think he's great. I don't think Reese is very durable. Like I think he is there to get hit and he is there to get put out, even though it hasn't happened on the feet really. I don't love that look. Decision win over Dusko in like a horrendous fight. And then he literally fought a carbon copy of himself and Jackson McVeigh, but in LFA. Like Jackson McVeigh is LFA Zach Reese. So yeah, like I mean, he subbed him. I don't think McVeigh's great. So yeah, I don't know. I just think, like you said, if it gets out of the first, like I don't hate it going really deep into the fight or maybe go to decision. But I don't know. I just think Michelle Perez got way more ways to win. My dad's favorite fighter, so I'll root for him too. One of my dad's favorite fighters. But yeah, I think Michelle Pereira clips him at some point if he has anything left. But I mean, Reese is dangerous, so you got to respect that. But play for me is Michelle Pereira.
Watch this go the distance, everybody.
Imagine.
So sick of these guaranteed unders going the distance. I'm calling it happens to this one. I'm so over that
They're
happening.
never guaranteed, man. They're never.
Up next, we have at welterweight. This one is exciting.
Good
Wow, are
fight.
these odds correct?
No,
I was going to say I
not
have the
even
right odds.
close.
I have the right odds. We have Jacoby Smith, who is minus 300 against Josiah Harrell, who is plus 240. I was going to say that's crazy. Well, look at this next gambling scandal we
Someone bet
have.
$1 trillion on Harold. That means
So Jacoby Smith minus 300 here, Harrell plus 240. Jacoby Smith 11-0, Harrell 11-0 as well. Jacoby Smith 2-0 in the UFC, 1-0 in Contender Series, riding a 5-fight finish streak. He has come as a big favorite for both of his UFC fights up to this point. Most of his wins here are by knockout. He is freakishly athletic, super strong, super fast on the feet, great wrestling, strong ground and pound, great control. I will say in the Nico Price fight, I feel like it took Jacoby Smith surprisingly long to get it done. And MMA world, don't take this the wrong way. It kind of seemed like he resorted to the rear naked choke in that. It seemed like he couldn't do any damage on the feet. And he was trying to ground and pound it, just like he couldn't get the angles right. He couldn't do the damage he needed to. And then it seemed like he like kind of had to go for the rear naked choke as like a last option, which like sure he still got the finish. That's great. But I just didn't like I didn't like how I saw him dominating. You'd expect him to dominate Price no matter what. I just didn't like what the domination looked like, to be honest with you. But not a horrible look, just something I picked up from getting nitpicky. Josiah Harrell, he is 11-0. He's a finisher, most wins by knockout as well. We did recently pick him to win against Bekmir Dozmatov. There's some crazy line movement there where he jumped to over plus 200. I did not bet him on the night with money, just as a prediction pick. You did bet him on money in addition to a prediction pick, so props there. Great bet, but we were definitely on him there. He's a solid all around fighter. He can strike, he can grapple, he can wrestle. He has experienced some adversity up to this point and showed heart to be able to pull off the win. And I don't think you can really say the same about Jacoby Smith in terms of experiencing that adversity. Showing yourself that you have the heart, being in those bad spots. And Josiah Harrell has been there. I am going to have to go with the underdog Josiah Harrell here. I have a crazy prediction, and I don't know this for a fact. I think you're going to lean the same way. Josiah Harrell, underrated prospect at the moment who, dealt with more adversity. That's the big thing here. Harrell is also young, athletic, fast, and strong, just like Jacoby. So there's not a Nico Price staying in front of him. It's someone with like a similar build, similar stats. I think Jacoby's going to have to really work for those dominant wrestling positions if he can get them. The longer this goes, which is certainly possible, the more I favor Harrell. He showed he can keep the pace. I have questions of whether Jacoby can keep the pace. Gotta like the money line here, and I kind of like overs too. So Harrell money line, and I also like this fight to start round three as well. Both I imagine you're getting plus on. I will check the round three as you begin your prediction here, and I'll update you on that. But Harrell's certainly the play.
yeah. So I'm actually gonna have to agree. I think Harold is the play. I would like it a lot more if it was like not short notice. But I mean, you broke it down perfectly. We just saw him in LFA against that Kyrgyzstani guy, and he looked good. Like he showed great takedown defense. He really he beat him up in 2 and 3 really badly. Like that fight should have been stopped a ton of time. He also has a college wrestling base. Obviously, Jacoby Smith has a way better, like a more not better, more credited, better university, all that stuff. But yeah, I think to start on the Harrell side, I think this line's kind of insane because they seem to be almost like a mirror matchup. You get what I'm saying? Like they have very similar styles, like both good power on the feet, but definitely prefer to grapple. I think Harrell might be a little bit cleaner of a striker, maybe not have as much power than Smith, but I think a little bit cleaner. Definitely has better kicks and stuff like that. Both super athletic. I don't get matching these guys up, right? Like they're both good prospects. I don't in welterweight. I don't get why you would have them fight each other, especially short notice. But I mean, the Keegan Greenwich fight, he just looked really good. Like Greenwich wrestled in college, also he shut everything down, was able to grapple him himself. And yeah, like you said, good striking, good kicks, freak athlete. In his last fight, the way he was like exiting the clinch and stuff, and the Kyrgyzstani guy would have a single leg, and he would like almost flip out of it, which is crazy. And like you said, the Jacoby Smith, his last fight against Nico Price wasn't a great look. Like Nico Price is all the way shot to bits. I think we saw that when Valenikov like smoked him in like with 2 punches. And yeah, he kind of seemed like he was going life and death up until the submission, which was nice, like good rear naked choke. He definitely was winning every second of the fight. Don't get me wrong, but he was supposed to. I think he was what was his yeah minus 2,000. So like I mean you don't love that. And then he knocked out Preston Parsons in like the first round, who's not great, not horrible, but not great. I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's fought the highest level of competition, especially in the UFC. Like Harrell is definitely the best guy he's fought by a country mile, especially because Price was all the way shot. But yeah, I'm with you. I think overs. Both guys, they are finishers, but both guys seem to be super super durable. And I just think the wrestling cancels out. Or if there is any wrestling, both of them are good enough grapplers to stay safe if they get taken down. And I just think it's like a semi low output kickboxing fight where they both respect each other's power. So I don't think overs are crazy, but I'm gonna agree with you. I think Harrell's like not a horrendous dog shot this week. I just wish it was not short notice.
Stop talking down on Preston Parsons on Preston Parsons. How dare you discount my
My
goat?
bad, King.
Don't discount my goat Obon Elliott's wins, bro.
True. Oh,
Um,
he's fallen on hard times. You hate to see it.
I need everything I can get for my goat Obon Elliott. Up next, we have heavyweight fight. This one will be a banger. Sergey Spivak, who is now grown to plus 127, and Ante Delija minus 155. This should be a fun one. Heavyweight, what do you think?
Yeah, so I don't know. I keep going back and forth on this, but I think I'm Spivak, like middling heavyweights, dog shot, and he's got the grappling upside. So like I don't hate that. I mean, Spivak fought pretty heavyweight division sucks, but Spivak's pretty much fought everyone. Like he went to decision with Waldo, had a ton of moments, like relatively close fight. Waldo's been on one hell of a tear. He got submitted by, or no, he got TKO'd by Gelton Almeida. Rest in peace, Gelton. Um, I don't know if he'll be
Finished
missed.
by the pacifist.
I don't think
Wild.
he'll. Yeah, I don't. By a priest, he got finished by. But yeah, so but he did take Gelton's back for a split second, which like Gelton's a really good grappler. Has that submission win over Marcin Tybura, like solid enough win. Went to the second round with Cyril Gahn and got beat up. No shame in that. Submitted Derek Lewis. Beat Augusto Sakai, so on and so forth. Yeah, I think his striking's not horrible. I don't love his durability, but he's getting finished by really good fighters, and like he was able to survive Lewis's strikes early and get takedowns. Um, I think his grappling's improving. He's a big man. You definitely don't want him on top of you. And Deli, on the other hand, like in the PFL, he was not fighting the highest level of competitions. Like outside the PFL, he knocked out Jorgen De Castro, notorious bomb in 42 seconds. Like you don't put anything in that. Got finished by Valentin Moldavsky, who's literally another pacifist. Essentially, that guy he's a good fighter, but he comes into the octagon to spar. And he got finished in the first round, which is not a great look. I think Moldavsky's only finished win in like 10 years. Um, and then Bruno Capoloza hurt him a ton and beat him, who's a 205er, who just like ballooned up to heavyweight and fought him later in his career. But he's got fast hands. He showed that against Waldo, even though it was an eye poke. He has fast hands. He's got solid enough power. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just think he gets taken down and grappled here. Like, I think Spivak has fought the way better level of competition, and he has enough striking to stay safe. And not to mention, like, Delia outside the first round just kind of falls off a cliff. So I will take Sergey Spivak. I think he finds the sub at some point.
So anyone watching this, there's not something on your screen here. That is a third nipple. I
Yes.
swear, which is
Yes.
crazy. So Ante triple nipple Delija. We'll say he is good on the feet. 26-7. Mixed results in the UFC, going 1-1 so far, losing to Acosta. 8-3 in the PFL. Won two of his last three. Wins all three ways, mostly by knockout. Loses all three ways, mostly by knockout. PFL wins against Renan Ferreira and Dennis Golsov, which you can't hate. Solid on the feet, fairly quick on the feet for heavyweight. Lost his last two losses by knockout. And I don't think he's faced many opponents with like the raw experience of Spivak. Spivak, as you mentioned, has fought the who's who at heavyweight. 17-6, 8-6 in the UFC. Is fighting a two-fight loss streak currently. He's a finisher himself. Loses by KO and decision. As mentioned, fought some of the best heavyweights. You know, the top names all over his resume. He is pretty big for heavyweight. He will have a small size advantage here in terms of weight. Given all the weight he carries, surprisingly fast on the feet. You know, quick hands, long arms, good reach. Also, impressive grappling bag. Certainly, you know, the edge on the ground here, as you mentioned, which I love as an underdog. You know, he wrestled the dominant position a couple times against Acosta in that fight, but he couldn't really keep Acosta there or do anything with it. But if you just MMA math this out, Delija got KO'd by Acosta. Spivak got beat by decision by Acosta. So that's just simple MMA math, but that makes you like Spivak. I do like Spivak here as well. I can't say I'm super sold on Delija at this point, especially when stacking him up against UFC caliber top heavyweights. Spivak presents danger everywhere, massive edge on the ground, as mentioned. At underdog money for Delija coming off getting knocked out and you know his first UFC loss, I gotta go with Spivak. Plus MMA math works in our favor here, so Spivak is the play. I agree. Probably just the money line. No covers really. I think you just take a straight stab here and hope for the best. Up next, we have the Coco main event. This is Dan Ige plus 180 versus Melky Costa minus 210. This is at featherweight. Dan Ige, he is 19 and 10, 11 and 9 in the UFC. Lost three of his last four. Wins all three ways. He has never been finished in all 10 losses. All 10 are by decision, which I love. You can't scoff at his last losses. Pitbull, which is probably the worst of the bunch. Lerone Murphy, Diego Lopez, Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev, Josh Emmett. Like, come on.
Crazy.
He's a good boxer. He's good on the feet. Also has a good ability to wrestle. Very experienced. He's great at handling bad spots and like dealing with bad spots. Great recovery, durable. So you can't ever count him out of a fist fight. Great cardio as well. Good under the lights. Melky Costa, 25 and 7. He is 6 and 2 in the UFC, riding a 5-fight win streak. So one of the biggest current win streaks in featherweight. A lot of recent success. Wins and loses all three ways. A bit unpredictable. He presents danger absolutely everywhere. Been on a tear recently. I think these guys stack up fairly evenly on the feet. I think the power edges to Ike, you got to give reach and probably I wouldn't say technique, but reach and control on the outside here on the feet. Certainly to Melky. I would say pretty much anywhere this fight goes that isn't on the feet in the wrestling and against the cage on the ground, I give the edge to Costa. Costa's just super crafty with takedowns, with trips, sweeps if he's down on his back. I think Costa, like I said, this fight stacks up pretty evenly everywhere except the ground. Costa, I think, has a big advantage there. Costa is way too predictable to choose a method of victory. Otherwise, I would be interested in maybe a submission prop here. But also, I'm not really sure if I could see him getting a finish against Ige. I know Ige's never been finished. Not sure if Melky could be the first. Melky straight might be a parlay piece. The over 1.5. There's not a ton of angles I like on this one overall, though Melky is certainly the side. But I do expect this one to be interesting, and it's a good step-up test for Melky here. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm actually the other way. I'm gonna probably take the dog shot on Danny Gay. I think this price is good, and I think Mel Costa is really solid. But I mean, like you were listing down the names like Patricio Pitbull, Lerone Murphy, Diego Lopez, Movsar Evloev, Korean Zombie back in the day, Josh Emmett. I mean, and he's had moments in a lot of those fights. Like he dropped Lerone Murphy pretty bad in the second round with like a short hook, which is really solid. Like Lerone's probably next for a title shot. Took a round off Diego Lopez where he literally showed up off the couch like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Get on Leah, right? They literally there's DMs. They DM'd him like, "Yo, can you come step in?" And he did for bum ass Brian Ortega, who's made of glass. And yeah, he just like held his own, looked good. I mean, I wouldn't love Melk in any of those matchups with any of those guys. And again, that's MMA math. They're matched up with each other. But yeah, like he's always struggled with takedowns, like giving up takedowns. And I do think there is a world where Costa does get takedowns, but I don't think he necessarily holds them down. Ige historically hasn't been the easiest to hold down, has good power. Knocked out Andre Fili not too long ago, like one and done shots. Melk is solid though. Like I like both these guys. I think both these guys have a lot of upside, especially Melk being younger. Yeah, and he's on one hell of a tear. Like that head kick, you could say fluke, whatever. Like Morgan Charrier is really solid. I don't think it's ever been finished, and he slept him really bad with that head kick. Beat Christian Rodriguez, good win. Beat Julian Erosa, great win. And yeah, he looked good. He lost to Thiago Moises on really short notice, and then got finished by Steve Garcia, who's on one hell of a tear. So no shame in that. So yeah, I think overs. I'm gonna probably just take a stab on Ige. I don't hate Ige by decision, depending on the number, because I do think it goes over. But yeah, I think overs Ige. I don't hate any of that, but I'm not super confident.
Definitely with you on the overs here. I do agree there, and it's certainly a close fight, a little bit of a toss-up. So don't blame me for taking the underdog there. Up next, we have what I believe is the actual co-main. This is the real co-main at 170. This is going to be a banger. This is Jeff Neal, who I have at minus 218, though these odds could be accurate. They could have changed versus Uros Medic at I have it plus 180, listed here plus 155. Jeff Neal, 16 and 7, 8 and 5 in the UFC, won one of his last four. Wins all three ways, mostly by knockout. Lost all three ways as well. He has fought the best at welterweight. His last losses, Carlos Prates, Ian Machado Gary, which was a split decision, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. May he rest in peace. In his last fight, he was caught by a spinning elbow in the last second of round one, which was kind of nasty. But who's not getting knocked out by that? Dangerous on the feet, great power, good brawler, great hands. Um, Medic on the other side, he's another brawler. 12-3, 6-3 in the UFC. Won two of his last three. He is a finisher. Most of his wins by knockout here. He does get finished in his losses. He did have an impressive KO against Muslim Salikov his last time out, which I definitely think was a step up from his previous competition prior. This is another step up beyond that, up to Jeff Neal. Uros Medic, super aggressive, kill or be killed. Early finish guy, or he gets taken out at some point. I think that the double step up here is just a little too quick for Uros Medic, to be honest with you. I see him getting knocked out at some point by Jeff Neal once he gets a little too comfortable in the pocket. I think it likely happens in round one. I don't think it takes long. Me and you are Uros Medic under aficionados here, so I don't think that ends here. This fight to end a knockout. The under 1.5. Jeff Neal's money line, Jeff Neal knockout, all of that has my interest to some degree. So just gotta see where the numbers break down. But that is where I stand here. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, if this is a trap line set by the sports books, like I fell for this, this line makes absolutely no sense to me. Neal like is a perennial top 12 guy. He's always has been his whole career. And now all of a sudden he's like playable against Uros Medic, who I don't think's great. I think he's dangerous, like huge for the division, good striker. Has zero durability though. Like I don't know why people think like you think he could take Jeff Neal's shots. Dude's got really good power. I mean, maybe he hasn't gotten knockouts in a while because I mean he's fighting the Shavkats, the Ian Garys, the Prates. And again, like Prates was definitely winning the round up into the spinning elbow, but it wasn't like Neal was completely out like a fish out of water there. And it was 1 second left. Like I don't know. That's just like shitty timing. That sucks. Um like took rounds off of Ian Gary, like has good takedown defense, good hands, like great boxing, pretty defensively sound other than the and good durability other than the process fight. But again, like a spinning elbow is a fight ender. So yeah, like I think Neal KO, Neal money line, the under 1.5, Neal round one. I think Neal all day. Medic does not do it for me. Like you brought up the Salikov fight, which is a good win. It was a minute KO. I mean, Salikov's like a literal grandpa at this stage. What is he like 44? Gilbert Rabina floored him, who might be one of the worst guys on the roster before he came back and got the KO. KO lost to Puna, which I mean I don't think's horrible. Like Puna hits, but 30 seconds, like come on. Knocked out a grandpa Tim Means, and then Orabai like ripped his face off with a neck crank. Which no shame in that. Orabai's good, but yeah, man. Even the fights he's winning, it seems like he gets hurt or dropped, which seems like it's disastrous in this fight. Maybe like I don't know. Did Neal just become all the way shot because of one KO loss? I think shot Neal beats this guy like 8 out of 10 times. So Jeff Neal all day.
I'm with you here. Definitely one of my favorite spots. Up next, we have the main event, 185. This is Sean Strickland at plus 230. Anthony Hernandez minus 285. Similar numbers listed up on the board here. This is exciting. What do you think here?
Yeah, so this is another one. I keep going back and forth on it. Like, I guess in theory, Strickland could pose some problems, like really good cardio, solid striking, wins over Israel Adesanya, fought Dricus du Plessis very close. But I don't know. He hasn't really fought this style in a long time, and giving up a like what did he give up? A couple takedowns to Dricus, who like is a good grappler, but he's not as tenacious with going for the grappling like Hernandez. I just think the one thing holding me back is he doesn't really have much pop. Like I think to beat Hernandez, you got to clip him early, or at least hurt him early to keep it kind of on an even play field. Because once the train leaves the station, man, he just cooks guys. And I don't think Strickland will gas out and get finished. But I just think like you're too far behind, and he doesn't have that like one hitter quitter to finish Hernandez or keep him off of him. I think like Hernandez, like what he did to Delitse is pretty crazy. I know Delitse is not a cardio machine, but like dude can grapple, dude's strong in the clinch, and he just manhandled him. Brendan Allen, who's pretty underrated. I know a lot of people just don't like him for some reason, but like even he wasn't able to get a ton of takedowns and a ton of top time. His striking looks like it's improving. He cooked Michelle Pereira, cooked Roman Kopylov. But all those guys are dangerous early. Like Kopylov could 100% put out anybody on the roster. Michelle Pereira has enough power to hurt a lot of guys. It's just not Strickland's game, man. Like he's a guy who typically goes to decision or goes late. Yeah, I don't know. You don't love Hernandez at this number, but I just think it's not a great matchup for Strickland. So I'll probably go with Hernandez. I do think it goes 5 rounds though.
The pick here for me is Strickland. I'm not sure if I like it enough to get on it yet. I may have to see the number. If it gets above plus 270, I might be interested. Sean Strickland, 29-7, 16-7 in the UFC, won four of his last six. Wins all three ways, mostly by KO and decision. Loses mostly by decision and knockout as well. Never been submitted. Former middleweight world champion. Bit of a decision guy, frequently fights close. Really defensively sound with that Philly shell style on the feet. Great jab, great teep kick, great steady pressure, which will be huge here if the fight goes his way. If he uses the jab and teep kick correctly with enough power, it could definitely cause problems for that forward style of Anthony Hernandez here. Great cardio. He knows he can implement his game for 25 minutes. And historically, Sean Strickland is not easy to take down at all. Anthony Hernandez on the other end, 15-2, 9-2 in the UFC, riding an 8-fight win streak currently. He has won all three ways, mostly by submission. He gets finished in his losses. He is often referred to as the dark horse of middleweight. I don't necessarily disagree. Really violent, high-paced, grinding wrestle style. He wears his opponents down. He breaks them down as the rounds go on. Definitely has a style that favors 5 rounds, but so does Sean Strickland as well. They both have proven cardio. And man, if you watch that Delize fight and then Michel Pereira fight, man, he really breaks those guys down, as you were mentioning. I think in this fight, it really depends on who can implement their game plan. Can Hernandez breach that outside point fighting teep range and get in close, or can Sean use those to keep him at bay? Sean's best strikes are straight down the middle, which is exactly what could be kryptonite here for Hernandez. Also, I did hear Hernandez was having some rib issues in this camp, so that could be huge here, which is pushing me towards the Strickland side. Like I said, the constant straight strikes, big problem here for Hernandez if it's used correctly. If Sean can get Hernandez either backing up or running into the straight strikes, that'll be what he needs to happen. I'm gonna have to side with Strickland here. I don't know if I'm gonna bet it, but at this number and assuming it's gonna keep on, I imagine casual money as the week gets closer will be on Hernandez. So I mean, 8-fight win streak. So assuming that is the case, that keeps going that way, I expect Strickland to grow. So I'm going to hold off until fight night and then likely bet him a bit. If the number keeps growing, I do like Sean, not a ton, but enough to bet small. I do like an over to cover. I think the fight to make it to round 4 is probably a safe over to cover. Might give you -3s, -2s, so you can just get back your money here. But I think I'm gonna have to side Strickland. I can't hold back from my American brother.
Yeah.
I will give you a moment here to gather your favorite plays here because I got them ready ahead of time. My
Yeah, I
favorite.
will say also, not to cut you off, but like the number for significant strikes for Strickland is set to like 71.5. And if you like him to win, I feel like he covers that easily. You know what I mean? Especially if you think it's banking rounds, because he lands a ton of volume. I wonder what like I don't have it in front of me, but like over 6 strikes and his money line is. It's probably something.
I'm over betting significant strikes because they
Yeah,
after
they
they reach
adjust it.
over that. I'm so
You're
over.
right. You're right.
No significant anythings for me. I think my favorite fights here from a bird's eye view in no particular order here. Spivak, I think it's a good slight underdog. Same with Chitty, though I like Spivak more as
Mhm.
a slight underdog. The under in the Chitty fight I like. The under in the Brahimai fight I like. Um, Josiah Harrell and the over in that fight I like. Coria likely by knockout I like. JPL I like. Jeff Neal I like. Those are probably my favorites. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think definitely JPL, definitely Jeff Neal. Like I'm gonna play him, like I said, every which way. The under to cover myself in a parlay. I actually maybe hot take. I think I like Liao. I think it's a market overcorrection because he just got knocked out. But I mean, very volatile fight. You definitely don't want to be putting a ton of bread on that fight. But yeah, I think like JPL, the under in the Liao fight, and Jeff Neal, man, like that's something easy. Like an under in the Neal fight, or I mean Jeff Neal money line, and then the under 2.5 in the Cheaty fight. Like that's probably plus money or almost plus money. Like I don't hate that at all.
Absolutely. This should, regardless, this should be a good card. Hopefully, you get some good bounces because it feels like we have not gotten great bounces
Yes.
in the past.
Oh my god.
Keep our fingers crossed for anyone sticking around for this long. We appreciate your support. For anyone betting the card, good luck. Catch you guys all next time.